My journey to this discovery. My first exposure to my entertainment history occurred when I performed in my first Broadway production, Bubbling Brown Sugar. I knew about the black writers of the past, like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston. However, in this production, I had the opportunity to meet, work, and become friends with my living history, Avon Long, Charles Honey Coles, just to name a few. Bubbling Brown Sugar paid a tribute to the contributions made by black artists during the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s. However, it was Charles Honey Coles that took me under his wing, taught me all of those historic tap routines, and educated me about our musical theater history. Bubbling Brown Sugar eventually closed, but the seed was planted, and I hung on to all the material I was exposed to in Bubbling. In 1987, my late friend Jay Stewart and I conceived, wrote, produced, and performed in our production entitled Rollin' with Stevens and Stewart, a tribute to the last days of black vaudeville. In 1998, I found producers in New York City and changed the name to Rollin' on the TOBA. It was first produced at the Intar Theater on 42nd Street. It then moved off Broadway to the 47th Street Theater to rave reviews before moving on Broadway at the Henry Miller Theater. It was suggested to me on many occasions that I should write a book on the subject and period. I took up the challenge. Finally, had I had more information, when I renamed my show Rollin' on the TOBA, it might have been called Rollin' on the Deadly Vaudeville Circuit instead. And after you watch this documentary, you will soon understand why. As we focus on the period of African American musical theater from 1865 through the 1920s, it is imperative that we look at the minstrel period in American entertainment, which began in the 1840s. During this minstrel period, white performers exploited on stage the inhumane living condition of African American slaves for their amusement. They did this through coon songs, soft shoe dancing, simple jokes, slapstick behavior, and their infamous trademark, the burnt cork or blackface makeup. These white minstrel shows gained wide popularity as they traveled the country and performed for U.S. presidents by stereotyping and creating a non-thinking, shuffling, ignorant black character for everyone's amusement. This type of buffoonery and false imagery of African Americans on stage was the beginnings of American musical theater and entertainment, which lasted for over 50 years. However, African Americans did not enter into this playing arena until the close of the Civil War. Following the violent backdrop of the Civil War, Charles Hicks, a black man, was able to organize the first successful black-owned minstrel company in 1865, the Georgia Minstrels, in doing so, establishing black minstrelsy. This was the first example of black entertainment entrepreneurship, and contrary to historical beliefs, these first black minstrels did not perform in the traditional blackface. Yet, blackface was not completely absent from black minstrelsy. Many of the comedians of that era elected to blacken their faces to distinguish between the straight man and the jokester. Also, the blackface, coupled with the comedian's outlandish clothes, added to his comic ensemble. Black minstrelsy came in two unique categories: tent shows, a carryover from an earlier period, and legitimate minstrel shows, more or less an imitation of white minstrel shows. The blues got its exposure and a foothold in show business due to tent shows. The tent show was part circus, part theater, and part minstrel show. There were clowns, acrobats, theatrical sketches, musical numbers, marching displays, all under one tent. Ma Rainey was queen of the colored tent shows in the rural South. She and her husband, Pa Rainey, were the creators of the Rabbit Foot Minstrels circa 1880s. Ma Rainey even discovered Bessie Smith, who traveled with Ma Rainey in the early days. They went on to create Pa Rainey's Minstrels, and in 1915, Rainey and Rainey, the Assassinators of the Blues, another first of black entertainment entrepreneurship. Black Patty's Troubadours was an important minstrel show and outfit organized in 1895. Madam Cicieretta Jones, the Black Patty, was an astute businesswoman and an awesome singer with an operatic voice that had a very wide range. Her troupe traveled the U.S. and Europe for many years, from 1895 through 1920, discovering new talent and providing jobs for many African American performers, while many black people struggled to eke out an existence, only 30 years after being emancipated from slavery. James Weldon Johnson wrote in The Black Manhattan, "White minstrelsy was, on the whole, a caricature of Negro life, and it fixed a stage tradition which has not been entirely broken."
Mammy, Mammy, my little Mammy.
It fixed the tradition of the Negro as only an irresponsible, happy-go-lucky, wide-grinning, loud-laughing, shuffling, banjo-playing, singing, and dancing sort of being. Nevertheless, these companies did provide an essential stage training and theatrical experience, which at the time would not have been acquired from any other source. It is extremely important to understand that this medium, minstrelsy, also allowed black men and women the opportunity to become and grow as entrepreneurs for the first time in our history, during a time when black businessmen or women was unheard of and rarely accepted. The break from minstrelsy.